Cats, cops, and C4. Project Phoenix Ash, Cenk says as he puts the heavily redacted file on Linda's desk. That's what this has been about. He had twisted a few arms and outright glared a man who had near 100 pounds of raw muscle on him down to get it. But it was legal, and it getting out wasn't a threat to the undaunted. Linda's eyebrows are very thoroughly up as she reads it. This is big. 10 different approaches to the mass urban renewal of the bottom 10 levels of Spire as a proof of concept, Cenk says. I still don't like it, but fire with fire? If this works, 500 million people have their standards of living markedly improved, Cenk asks. I still don't like how they went about it. They could have held him and then offered a plea deal. They could have... No, they couldn't if they wanted to offer a plea deal and use his criminal reputation. It would have been easily hacked. Then he facepalms. Of course, the stupid bastards are still paranoid as hell since that massive hack shortly after arriving. They don't trust any electronic system anymore. To be fair, is it really paranoia if people are trying to ravenously infiltrate your cybersecurity? Linda asks. Well, no, I mean, it just, Cenk says before taking a deep breath. You know, I'm learning a lot about reading emotions and expressions from you. You're out of the axiom, but plain as day now, Linda notes calmly. She scans the file again and nods before rising up and quickly walking around the desk to give Cenk a hug. You did good. Sure, some things went off the rails for a bit, but in the end we got the best results. Argus, while not in prison, is performing years of difficult and needed community service, something he had a very good chance of getting either way. A lot of judges are so soft on men they're all but immune to consequences. And this way, he's made to make up for things, and if he doesn't do a good job, is still at a massive risk of going to trial and getting further punishment. Exactly. He's not hurting people anymore. If anything, he's being made to help them. That's the whole point of the justice system. Making something foul into something fair. Forcing people who would hurt others for their own gain to instead help them. The end result isn't perfect, but it's damn close, Linda says as she holds Cenk, who sighs. I just wish the Undaunted could be a bit more upfront and open, though. We're on Centrus. Upfront and open are the exception, not the rule, she says, and he sighs. Still, I wonder which of the 10 levels he's on. It can't be pleasant for him. He lived his life in the sun and open air. Even if he lived meanly, and he did, he was still able to go outside, look up and feel sunlight on his face. You can mostly do that in prison even, Cenk considers. Now he has to no doubt go well and truly out of his way for even a pleasure as simple as that, Linda says. I would have liked to see him in front of a judge, but we can't always get what we want. It's still not right, Cenk remarks. Just because they're using him for a good purpose and have done everything in the way the courts would have approved of, he should have still gone to trial. I know. By all rights, they would have gotten the same thing if they had simply let Argus go to trial and then requested his services for rehabilitation. Most judges would have gone for it. Then why didn't they? They're not stupid, they should have known. People don't always make the best decisions. Remember, a mistake can just as easily be mistaken for conspiracy. A request for a private trial and offering to police his rehabilitation, and they would have had what they wanted. But that requires a level of trust of the legal system. And Centrus, Linda leads on and Cenk sighs as it all falls into place, is so rife with conspiracy that if you throw a rock and hit 3 people, you've hit 5 cultists, has literal armies of invisible spies trying to rush into our ship, has outright stolen almost all information the moment we arrived and irreparably shattered operational security, he asks. Of course they're acting like this. They don't trust anything to do with Centrus. It's proven itself inherently untrustworthy and unreliable. Damn it. Damn, I'm a feeler to test the police force. Makes sense. Hopefully we're passing their tests, Linda remarks. I doubt I'd have gotten that folder without at least some level of trust. Cenk remarks. Good. Hopefully then we can work on them learning to trust Centris enough to actually trust us enough to work with us wholly rather than just sending you, Linda remarks. What? I'm not enough. You need more, Cenk asks with a cheeky grin. Oh, I've got plenty, but the question is that the other girls in the station are starting to get jealous. It's rare to find a human man that actually has a traditional number of wives, and while I love the attention, the jealousy is really starting to go over the top, Linda says with a smile. There's a yawn and a little series of moans and pops as Vera wakes up on the couch and stretches out. Was over the top? She asks somewhat blearily before giving herself a shake and taking a pull on the axiom to wake herself up. The girls are getting jealous of us, Vera, Linda says in a sing-song tone. Should be. Our big guy is tough enough to tango with a war form and so dedicated to justice he's been pissed at his own people for swiping the prey, Vera says, stretching more as she gets up. She lets off another yawn that by several rights should have dislocated her jaw before sauntering over. So, what next? Big bad Carib boy is beaten and bloody. What are we going for next? Old traffic stops? Do we move on to bigger and better things now? Are we hunting after entire games with rifles and artillery? Are we breaking into the bases of the bad guys and gunning them down? No. Now we're untangling all of Argus's little lies and ties to the spires around here. Speak to everyone that he's been involved with and then shutting the case file. He may have caused a hell of a mess, but there's nothing all that special about him. We deal with crazies like him regularly enough. Believe me, this is routine. Really? The big bad Shroud is just another criminal? Centris is an absolutely enormous world, one of the most heavily populated in the galaxy. So yes, it happens. A lot. The Shroud was just the latest. Mors Magor was the last one, before that was Mother Crush. The last 2 years have been fairly full, but not exceptionally so, Linda explains. Mors Magor? Cenk asks. She showed up and then left about a week before you humans showed up. Her name was about something from an ancient hero or something. Yes, she was a metak that tried to outright take over a spire. She got an entire level before several different precincts came in to reinforce with some mercenary assistance. The Crimson Hewers ate all the damage without flinching, and we bombarded the area with stun bolts. Thankfully for her, Mors Magor didn't promote mass slaughter, just a lot of intimidation and threats of violence, meaning she might be a free woman sometime this century. Wait, so outright starting a war isn't enough to get her executed? Cenk asks, and Linda shrugs. There are many, many, many different planets and beliefs that think execution is outright barbaric no matter the crime. So, no, a death sentence is rare. Then why was one given out to that? I mean, why? Cenk asks. I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't have the full details, but someone seriously screwed with us and got a death sentence. She directly focused on undaunted soldiers and incited numerous gangs to attack us. She's to be held in stasis until the next ship back into cruel space. That's not just death, but cruel and unusual. There are laws against forcing null exposure on someone, and Cenk begins, not everywhere. There may be a lot of people that preach about things being all nice and kind and touchy-feely about life and death, but when push comes to shove, a lot of them end up screaming the loudest for brutal punishments. Believe me, every judge and jurisdiction has something that will really set them off, and it's different from person to person. I think I remember that case. Madame Oliphas, right? Right. I think she was a cutthroat businesswoman that kept deliberately poking at us and then freaked out when we poked back, and then she kicked off an impromptu war by getting gangs, militias, and volunteer groups to straight up attack a lot of our wandering forces. That is a much more serious affair than what Argus did. Argus set criminal gangs against each other, technically only provoking people to attack each other. Incitement is still a crime, but directed incitement with intent to murder agents of a military in good standing by proxy is another thing entirely. Okay, this is starting to get a little boring. Can we do something beyond mope and think, please? Things happen. Okay, now what? Is whining or whinging going to change anything? No, let's go. Let's do something, Vera exclaims as she bounces up and then jumps somewhat onto Chank's back. Not quite going full piggyback as she's still standing, but her weight is all on him. Is that always your answer to everything? Chank asks. It's a good answer. The mind lives in the body, and if the body suffers, so does the mind. Work yourself through the problems by working yourself, and oh, that is an idea. Let's have a spar. A fun one, no war form or real axiom. Just see what we can do one-on-one, Vera offers. I suppose that will give me plenty of time to bring this folder over to Chief Bowman. She's no doubt cleared to see it if I am. Yeah, everything in there is properly redacted, but there's plenty in there for someone who knows the case to figure out what happened. Good. That means we can round out our case files with a nice little bow on it. You two have fun getting all limbered up and I'll take care of this, Linda says, giving Chank a peck on the jaw and then gathering up the files. Vera uses that time to pull up her legs so she's riding piggyback on Chank. Let's go. Onward, good steed, onwards, is the last thing that Linda hears of them as she leaves the room ahead of them. It takes her just a minute to reach Chief Bowman's office. A knock on the door has it open automatically, but the chief is on the communicator and holds up a finger to ask for a minute. The other side is clearly not someone that wants to be spoken back to, but not shouting loud enough for Linda to hear it. All right, I understand. Yes, I do understand. Good day, madam, Chief Bowman says before hanging up. Some people. What have you got for me, Officer Score? Chank's a lot more bothered about what happened with the Shroud case than almost anyone else. He brought this. She answers, holding out the file, and Chief Bowman starts reading. 5 years of civil service in the bottom 10 of Venspire? That's a lot harsher than Judge Elia would have given him, that's for certain. Chief Bowman notes as she reads through. Project Phoenix Ash, what does that even mean? I think it's some kind of mystical animal. I'm not sure, maybe some kind of hoofed thing that starts fires, Linda asks, and Chief Bowman quickly taps at her communicator. No, a bird. Something out of legend, dies by setting itself on fire and emerging whole and healthy from the ashes. Oh, okay, so it's a very on-the-nose name for a big urban renewal plan. I'm a little worried about Chank. He's taking the interference really badly. It's his first time with a serious jurisdiction friction, and it's a personal one too. So that's not making things easier. He also hasn't looked too deeply into the cults and secret societies of Centris, has he? No, but still. Oh, for goodness sakes, girl. If your husband is tense, work it out of him. Between you and Vera, you should be able to at least distract him from him. Chief Bowman. What? All I'm saying that he's a healthy man, you're a healthy woman. Let nature take its course and both of you will feel better for it.